I was fascinated with trains, and so one thing I wanted to do was make like a little steam engine, and I would just pull out, like, we had this little old oil lamp, and I tried to like put it together, but that never panned out, but it looked cool. I like to keep my hands busy, so one of my former colleagues was like, hey, let's build something. How about a Battlebot? And I was like, all right, let's do that.
Welcome, friends. Adrian Sinclair over here with Apodcast with interesting people. Check us out at apodcast.com. And today my guest is Chris Sparzo from Phalanx Robotics. We're going to be talking about Makerspace, creating and building interesting things. He is on a team which is building a Battlebot and he's going to be featured on Discovery Channel on the show Battlebots. And their robot is going to be one of the contestants over there. And so I'm super excited to have him on the show because this is one of those series that I wanted to build out where I talk to interesting people in the space of innovation and creativity and makerspace. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being over here. Thank you for coming out.
Well, I appreciate you holding me on that regard of innovators as well.
I kind of bundle everything up because that's how I think of it. It's creators, innovators, and inventions. All of those are like in one space for me because I think they're like just so tightly interlinked. So, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. And
thank you for having me.
Before we're going to jump into the details about your Battlebots, just let's talk briefly about you. What is your background? How did you get into this space of making things and building things?
Well, I'm an engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer by education, but right now I'm doing software. And I would say the way I've gotten into making things was just tinkering with. When I was younger, we had a drawer that just had like junk, like a junk drawer.
Right.
And I was fascinated with trains, and so one thing I wanted to do was make like a little steam engine. And I would just pull out, like, we had this little old oil lamp, and I tried to like put it together, but that never panned out, but it looked cool. But then that went into, my parents sent me to like little inventor camps, and we put together like RC cars and stuff. And then I got into RC cars. In high school, I did little robotics things.
Projects.
Now there's FIRST Robotics, which is really cool in high school. We did VEX, which is another thing that a lot of high schools do. And then went to college in Indianapolis at IUPUI, which is part of Purdue, and did mechanical engineering. I did a few projects there, and then after that I graduated and moved out to Utah, where I am now, and I work for a company up around Layton and for software. And and just wanted to get into something because I like to keep my hands busy. So one of my former colleagues was like, hey, let's build something. How about a Battlebot? And I was like, all right, let's do that.
What were some of the first things that you remember that put you on that path? I think that steam engine that you wanted to build? Was that like one of, like, if you trace back, like, what was it that you were like, oh, this is where it started. I built this one thing and I wanted to build it.
Thomas the Trains. We had that little wooden track. I mean, I was probably only 3 years old when I had that, but just putting the track together in any way you want it. I gotta make a curve this way, curve that way.
Yeah.
That was fascinating to me. Yeah. And then Legos.
Yeah, Lego. I was going to ask you about Legos, if that had any part in kind of like building things.
I just love using my opposable thumbs for anything to put things together, and it's amazing. That's something that I'm always amazed about. Like, just we can use our hands to make different
things. Right?
Things. Yeah, it's amazing.
And we got these opposable thumbs, like you said. We got to use them.
Yeah.
So right now, here in Utah, how did you find the space, the makerspace that you what was the scene when you moved to Utah in terms of building things and places where you can actually build things?
Well, I didn't even know about Makerspaces when I moved out here, but I was already doing like little projects. I like to play with drones too, and I was putting together a drone at the time. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a solder bench or something that I could just go to? And then I just started looking around, like rent a shop or like can I use this? And then I just found out about Makerspaces through Googling stuff, and I was like, holy cow, what the heck? I had no idea that these existed. And they've been around for like a decade now, but Yeah, Makerspaces have blown me away, and the one that I participate at downtown in Salt Lake City is called Make Salt Lake, and it's incredible.
I think it's makesaltlake.org as the website, and so we're going to give him a plug over here because I started talking with him as well, and I'm going to get involved because it's a wonderful collection of resources, right? And wonderful people over there, and a space where you can start building things and use the tools, and they have a lot of different things over there you can utilize.
It blows my mind. I won't say the price because it could change any day, but it's very, very inexpensive.
Right.
And you go there and you get probably, like, what we're getting right now is 100-fold what we're paying. But maybe we shouldn't tell them that because they're going to raise their price. But it's incredible, and it's not even an unusual price, because if you look at their price and I compared it to Makerspaces all around the country, and they're very similar. So everybody's all charging about this same price.
Yeah. So for those of you who are wanting to get into this place, we check out the show notes. We're going to double check that the URL, the website, contact info is over there for that space. If you're here in Utah, that's the I'd say the premier place to go to right now in terms of. There was another space, right? That was over here in Provo.
I hope I'm not wrong, but I believe that there's 3 spaces. Currently only 2. There was one in Provo called ProVolt, and I don't believe that they're there anymore. I believe that person has moved. But there's the Make Salt Lake, which is, I think it's the most wonderful machine shop that you can go to around here.
Yeah.
And there's another little one called 801 Labs, and they're downtown. They kind of specify in, like, programming, though.
Right.
So they don't really have as many machines, but it's a great place to go if you want to learn about, like, programming, microcontrollers.
Coding, right, controllers and everything. Yeah. The space has a lot of different tools, and I love it. It's from machining things, but they also have, like, things for, like, sewing and just, like, variety of different things, 3D printers, laser cutters, and pretty much everything that you want and need in order to build something that you're into.
Yeah. It seems impossible to me every time I go there. How is this existing? It's amazing.
For the kind of money. So.
But it's because a lot of people really care. Like, there's one gentleman that goes there. He's an older gentleman, and he goes there, pays the membership, and all he does is just maintain equipment for other people, and he loves doing that.
Wow.
He will go there and just...
That's amazing.
He helped build a bandsaw that we're going to start using soon. It's a really big one that's going to be good for... You can probably cut an entire, like, I-beam on that thing. And that's what he spends all his free time just helping other people build stuff. Yeah.
So let's talk about the community. I've been always, so similarly to you, tinkering with things, building, and just messing around with things, right? There's I believe that most of us are lifelong learners. We love learning new things. We love building things. You know, we're curious beings, and we love to kind of figure things out. I mean, heck, that's what got us where we are right now, right? Just by kind of evolving technology and things. You know, being a parent and having a young one, I want her to be in that space as well, where she can play with things, break them, and learn from that and everything. So to me, this is de rigueur. This is required. This is the key component in our growth as people, to have a space where we can kind of grow and build things. In your experience with the community over here, what have you found out, or, you know, just going in over there and working? What's the feeling like for those who have never experienced, like, working in Makerspaces?
It's a familiar feeling for me because I recently found out about them, but I was skeptical at first because I looked at how much they're charging you for something like this, but I think it also works because if you have enough members, of course, it's going to pay itself off. But the culture is going to be different at different spaces, and I mentioned 2 of them, which I have been to, the 801 Labs and the Make Salt Lake, and they're very distinct. And one of them's more of a smaller group of friends that all collaborate, and the other one, Make Salt Lake, that I go to most of the time, is they're a little bit more reserved. Everybody's more than willing to help each other.
Like everybody's working on their own project, right?
But people are excited to help each other.
Right.
Like if you say, I need, hey, can you help me do this thing? Or somebody might know how to sew. I don't know how to sew. And somebody was like, yeah, you just do this and they'll help you out. You hopefully will return the favor.
Right.
And people are not shy to helping each other. and they stay out of each other's way when they're working. Most of the time, very careful and safe. And people take it upon themselves and I think most people realize when you're at that space, like, this space exists not because of like a centralized leadership, although there's a few people who do help curate that space that work there, and they do an excellent job.
Right.
But it exists, I would say, mostly because every person who goes there, every customer, in a way, which is a member, has a responsibility to look after themselves, what they're doing, and try to help others when they can.
Visiting when I had like a just a little tour around over there, you got to be certified to use tools. I like that. It's not just like, hey, here's membership, just go in and build whatever you want. Like, no, we'll teach you so you don't cut your finger off or things like that. Know how to use tools. So for those who've never been involved in anything like that, great resource where people are just being helped out to kind of get up to speed with making sure that they can build things. And so hopefully the other thing is that they're going to continue growing classes and teaching people other things. And that's where I'm going to be trying to get into, helping them out.
Yeah. A lot of people run classes there too, and they do it voluntarily just to help, because it's all circular.
Yeah.
What goes around comes around at that makerspace.
Right.
And if you help others, you're probably going to get helped in another way.
Right.
But that's not to say people are doing it for like selfish intentions, because people sometimes, I don't think, get anything in return. Like this older gentleman I mentioned, he just loves to help people.
Right.
And you find a lot of people there like that.
Yeah. So let's talk about how, what you're doing right now, building stuff over there. So you're building a Battlebot. What are Battlebots? How did you get involved in that?
Yeah.
And where are you at?
Yeah, so we're just a rookie, just to clarify. We haven't been on there yet, and we still have to earn our stripes. But Battlebots, for those who don't know, is basically big RC cars that you spend a lot of money on and you destroy in seconds by ramming them at other people. No, they take a lot of work. They're big metal little Roombas, and they
I love it.
Yeah, I'm trying to make as many analogies as I can here. And they have buzzsaws, they have hammers and vertical and horizontal buzzsaws and flipping mechanisms.
All sorts of weapons, right?
Yeah. And the whole goal is to destroy the other person's entire last year of work.
So it's an arena where you have these bots kind of rolling around and basically just hammering away, trying to destroy the other robot. And
it's usually 1 versus 1, but they have been Battlebots has been getting more creative and having like 4, 5 bot matches, and they're just all smashing each other. And yeah, it's a really fun experience. I'm really looking forward to going there, because right now we're part of a big group chat started by one of the more prominent Battlebots. If anybody watches Battlebots, they'll probably hear of Will Bales, and he's been curating this big forum of all of the Battlebots people, and it makes me look forward to going to the actual event, because just like the Makerspace, people on this forum, although we haven't met each other face to face yet, are very knowledgeable and willing to help out with sharing knowledge. And for instance, Will Bales, which is the guy curating this forum, he helped us decide how we're going to control our bot, the electronics. He gave us some good knowledge there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's this big group of people who likes to build stuff and then break it. Right.
And so the whole show is it has a history, BattleBots, but right now it's Discovery Channel is who's going to be broadcasting. Who is broadcasting this year?
Yeah, it seems to be. Who knows how it will be in the future? But a lot of people don't like almost every time I bring up oh yeah, we're making a BattleBot. They're like, oh, that's still a thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for a while, but for people who don't know, it's back.
Yeah.
It's restarted in 2015, and.
What's the excitement? What's all the excitement about, smashing remote control robots together?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the excitement I think for most people comes from hopefully not getting theirs smashed.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but it is cool to see.
It's like a little gladiator arena with where no humans are harmed, just hardware.
Yes, and That's exactly what it is. It's a bloodlust sport that doesn't have any real violence.
Right.
Yeah.
What have you, as a mechanical engineer, what have you learned from building this bot? And when you guys start, you have a couple members in the team, right? And you guys are not all in Utah. So how does that work? Like building and designing things, remotely and.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot there. I would say, to answer your first question, the number one thing that personally I have struggled with and learned is knowing when you have to leave good enough alone. We have machines at the shop that we're able to make very precise parts, but then we have to remind ourselves, wait a second, this could get destroyed in like 3 seconds. And so you just have to like build it. Okay, that's good enough. Let's move on. Let's get the whole big picture done, and then we can go back and maybe make things better, which I hope that that'll be the case. That's our plan. And in terms of logistics, making this, because right now some of us are in Utah right here, and other of our members are in Indiana. One is even in Iowa. And to do that, we've just driven across the country a couple times.
Okay. Do you guys use like teleconferencing or stuff to kind of like have like powwow sessions where you figure out like design features and what about like designing it? Like, what kind of software do you use to?
We used software called SolidWorks, and
so is that AutoCAD or is that?
It's terrible, but I don't exactly know what AutoCAD is. I believe it is, but I've heard CAD thrown around a lot. I just call it a 3D modeling design software.
Yeah, because there's like Fusion 360 is one.
Yeah, it's comparable to that.
Yeah, and then you have there's a lot of
Creo, PTC Creo.
Yeah.
And Fusion 360, which is probably most recognizable because I think they have like a free version.
Yeah, I think that one is owned by AutoCAD, and they just made it available because they have like a AutoCAD Inventor and all of those tools that are just way above anybody's pocket to pay for in terms of money. Yeah,
but they're extremely helpful to have.
Yeah. So how did you guys come about with designing the bot, and what kind of bot is it? Just tell me a little bit more about it.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a good story. One of the members, Andrew, and myself designed most of it, and we started by just saying, okay, what are we going to do? What's our like main idea? And we got four wheels and a weapon, which is a flipping thing, which is going to hopefully throw somebody out of the arena.
So there's like different kinds of designs of robots at Battlebots typically have. Like there's like smashers, right? There's like depending on what kind of weapon they have. So you guys decided on the flipper.
Yeah, we decided on the flipper because we've looked at BattleBot. Out of all the BattleBots we've seen, we always get most excited when we're looking at BattleBots like Bronco is one, and there's a new one called Hydra that are made by a group of people in Wisconsin. And to see like something literally like the size of this chair that's 250 pounds, like basically me in this chair, like imagine me getting launched up 10 feet, like how entertaining that would be. That's basically the flippers.
Yeah.
And so that's why we chose it. It's just really interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also really cool designs like horizontal spinning mechanisms and vertical spinning ones, and you can do whatever.
I mean, the name of the game is really to smash the opponent. So just use your imagination. What kind of tools you can, are like flamethrowers allowed?
Yeah. And the rules they do say like they have to be like they're really only for cosmetics.
Right.
But people still try to use them to burn other people.
I mean, heck, if it burns some kind of a circuit or something in in your opponent's thing, your robot, then it's gonna put it out of commission.
It certainly doesn't help them.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the time people get break down because their batteries are drawing so much current. Either batteries go out or the speed controllers to the motors go out. And if you're throwing flames at them, that doesn't help them cool down.
So let's talk about some challenges, right? What kind of challenges do you guys and how many evolutions do you guys go through? But what are some of the challenges that you guys hit on early on designing?
For designing, I think the biggest challenge was, well, first just agreeing on a flipper, agreeing on like a certain idea. But I would say another big challenge for our design was when we had applied it to the Battlebots portal and Discovery Channel. The guy who runs the whole thing, people who are familiar with Battlebots are familiar with.
Yeah,
with
how does that work? Like, you guys have to submit some kind of an application and show them, like, hey, look, this is the design for our bot, and they kind of vet it. Is it good enough to be even submitted into this competition? Yeah.
So you have to submit sort of like your resumes,
right,
about yourself, why you want to do it, and then your designs. You know, they want to see, because if they urge that you don't build it yet, because in case the show doesn't happen.
Right.
But they want to see, okay, we want to see, can they build it, and a little bit about you. And the hardest thing for us was when we submitted it, the guy, Greg Munson, called us and he said, hey, we like it, I like it, but I don't know if the producers are going to like it because it's kind of boring looking. And so we had to go back and we added some.
So what did you do?
Well, it was originally just like this globe here. It was like just a dome, and so we made it more of like an oblong. It's like the shape of a shield. And we wanted to make it more of like a familiar shape. We added different colors, and then we added an actual sort of like some more armor around the edges. And then after a few weeks, we were surprised on Christmas Eve with a great present that, hey, you're in.
Hey, you're in.
Yeah.
And so when you get accepted into this, you know they'll just set up a date when you have to show up and with your bot and enter the ring and let the battle begin.
That's it. Let the battle begin. And I think it's going to be August 4th right now, or August 7th. Those are the two dates that are kind of up in the air. But the Greg Munson, who kind of runs the show, he's really gung-ho on doing it. He loves doing it. I think he's the original founder of BattleBots, even back like when it started in 1999 or so. Right. And he really wants to get it going.
Have you been how long have you been following BattleBots and is it like since the beginning, or?
I think since the beginning, yeah. I remember watching it when I was a little kid when they had it on Comedy Central back in the day. And there was, I think that's actually how Jamie Hyneman from Mythbusters or Adam Savage, one of the two, they built one called like Buzzer or something. And it was just like a dome. And it was a gas-powered spinning shell with a little tooth on the outside that would eat people up. Yeah.
What have you seen in terms of like evolution of robots and the show itself?
Yeah. Well, on the technical side, lithium batteries, that has changed the game like 100%, as we know, like when we're looking in the market too, like with electric cars and stuff. And in terms of the show, I think it's actually getting more, it's a lot more destructive now because motors are more powerful, batteries are more powerful, and so a lot of the time, bots will just get totally torn apart. And I don't think that happened nearly as much in the past. A lot of the time it would just run out of battery or kind of die off. But my favorite battle was with, it was one between the Mad Catter and, I can't remember the other one. It was Hydra, yeah. And I hate to pick on Mad Catter, but it kind of blew it apart. They looked like they were entertained though.
If you've never seen the show, it's entertaining because it's not only that it's technology and things that are like really blowing things apart, but it's also like when they have close-ups on the team's faces when they like, you know, the team is like in there and they see how their bot just got destroyed and just like parts flying everywhere, and they're like, what? This was like 6 months of toiling.
Yeah, you'll get that, either that reaction or like, that's awesome. Yeah. I don't care if that's my bot. So that makes me think about the topic of failure and learning from failure, right? Yeah. And when you see your bot being destroyed like that, and obviously it's like heart-wrenching because you put a lot of our sweat and tears and blood into that, and you see it destroyed,
some people are like, this sucks, and some people are like, okay, well, let's learn from that, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts and your own experiences from like failures and building this thing out?
Yeah. Well, I've done a little electric car vehicle competition when I was in college, and I did that for 3 years. And we'd have to build this car that was like 10 feet long. It was like a little pod car.
Right.
And it was very difficult because we had to build it from the ground up each of these times. But a lot of the time, things break down, and you find yourself looking at, oh man, I wish we could be like that team.
Right.
I wish we could be like that team over there that's got everything going, everything right. And you got to realize, like, nobody's got it going. Everybody's going to face these challenges.
Right.
We certainly did. And every time it broke, that was an opportunity for us to, like, realize, okay, we needed to design it this way or that way. And so every failure I see is like a learning opportunity.
Right. What was the most memorable one? Like when you guys were like, oh man, like we totally screwed up, like or like this was not how we intended, or like unexpected things that you learned from some of these experiences? Yeah,
the most memorable time for me was kind of a scary one. It was when we were at a test track, and these are driven by a person. It's called Shell Eco Marathon for people who are familiar with that.
What's that?
It's sponsored by Shell, the petroleum company, and it's usually held in California. You build a class of vehicle of a certain energy type. We usually chose electric. And there was one, this was actually last year, or a couple years, it was like a couple years ago. And the throttle didn't turn off. Uh-huh. And so our person was just like, what the heck? And they ran right into the wall. And we were like terrified because we were running over there like, oh my gosh, is he okay? And then he was fortunately okay. He wasn't going that fast. These things don't go that fast. But the emergency stop fortunately did work as it was supposed to. But that was a time where we knew right away what technically had gone wrong. And we knew, okay, you know what? We need to be more focused on safety. And I think as a group, that was like a regrouping point where a lot of people, this was 3 or 4 days in, a lot of people were frustrated. And when you're sleep deprived and building and having to like getting to the point where you're putting things back that you've just taken apart 50 times, and it was a regrouping point where we're just going to put it down, go to sleep, wake up tomorrow. And that's something that I've tried to reiterate over and over a lot of the time when I'm working on that project or my work, my day job, or this project, Battlebots project. You're just like, all right, got to put it down. It's so hard to do. It's so cliche, but it is just like working out in the gym. Oh yeah, I know how to lift weights. You just go up and down like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's practice. Yeah, you got to know when. All right, I'm done. Yeah, going home, going to go to bed, wake up tomorrow. There is a point of diminishing returns at some point, when you're just like, I've been staring at this problem or issue, and I can't even see the solution because I've been doing it for so long, and that's why to me that's kind of like one of those points where you're like, I'm going to take a break, go and walk around or something and just reset a little bit, or just revisit it tomorrow. Let my brain think overnight and figure the problems out. Yep. Go for a walk. Yeah, go for a walk. Yeah, it's unfortunately the best advice I have to offer is the most cliche. Is stuff like that. Go for a walk. Yeah, go for a walk. Yeah, just come back with fresh ideas, blow it off, and let your mind kind of figure out on subconscious level. Maybe So Phalanx is the name of your bot, right? Yeah, on my shirt here. Yeah. So. Yeah, let's make sure. Oh, sorry. So Phalanx is our team name. Oh, the team name. Yeah. So what's the name of your bot? It's Aegis. Aegis. Okay. So we were kind of going for the Greco-Roman theme, and one of the reasons we chose that is because, from our research at least, no bot has really adopted that theme. Everybody has to have like a theme, like fire truck or this or that, and so we were like, oh, how about like a Spartan kind of theme? Right. And Aegis means it's like a mythical shield. Right. So that's why we shaped it like a shield. Yeah, it really looks like that, and we're going to throw some graphics. Very low profile. Like what else? Very low profile. I'm curious how you guys. Are there any? I mean, I'm sure there are like
are they class weights, or how like for the design part for the show itself? Do they tell you like, look, it can't be more than 100 pounds or 200 pounds or a ton or whatever?
Yeah.
It can't be gas powered or dilithium crystals or something. You know, like what are the specs of your bot?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, Battlebots has one of the best rule books because it's one of the shortest. And it's 250 pounds pretty much across the board. They did make a new exception this year, which is going to be really cool, if you are a bot that uses a walking mechanism that doesn't use wheels, you can go up to 500 pounds.
What?
Yeah. But they'll all fight each other. So I imagine they're going to have the 500 pounds against the 250s. And there's no classes now. It's just everybody. It's just equality in that arena.
Yeah.
Everybody's just destroying each other.
May the best one win.
Exactly.
So what's powering your bot?
We have lithium polymer batteries for our drivetrain.
No dilithium crystals? No warp core?
No warp core, no. No nuclear reactor or anything. That'd be nice to get our hands on someday. And a pneumatic tank for the flipping mechanism. Yeah.
So the idea behind it is just like get under the your opponent and use wedge in and then flip it up.
Yep.
That's given that these bots are between 250 and 500 pounds, you got to have some serious juice to pull that off.
Yeah, we're scared of it.
I was gonna say, that's like
my dad's always telling like, be careful with that air tank, and I mean those air tanks are extremely dangerous when you're pumping it up to 3,000 psi.
3,000 psi, yeah.
And I played with paintball tanks when I was younger, and I didn't realize like that's a bomb.
Yeah.
That 3,000 psi tank, and what we're using is actually a firefighter tank. And it amazes me that they wear those on their back.
I mean, if we're talking about scuba tank is like in 3,000 psi as well. Yeah,
it's about 3,000.
Yeah, 3,000 pounds per square inch of pressure in that thing. I mean, literally, I think it was actually on Mythbusters one day. They put a tank on like concrete blocks, and they chopped off the valve that was holding, and this tank basically just flew like a missile. It was just unbelievable. So just to give it, and it punched through like a concrete wall.
Yeah, I think we calculated
serious thing.
The energy in this 3,000. It's 5 liters, 3,000 psi. It would be enough to launch a bowling ball about 300 feet in the air.
Wow,
basically like a cannon.
Yeah, that's amazing. What are for those who are like either new to this and watching this show, or like want to get into this, like even Makerspace or maybe specifically Battlebots. How do you get into this? How do you get into Battlebots other than like just kind of tinkering and kind of starting up? Like, how would you recommend someone? Like, what you've learned? Give me some pro tips or shortcuts for someone who's like totally fresh. I'm like, hey, I don't know anything about mechanical engineering. You already are, ahead of the curve because you are a mechanical engineer. So by trade, by education, you already have that under your belt.
Yeah.
For someone who's newbie, like I'm thinking like even like parents who have kids or like teenagers are like, hey, I'd love for them to get into that space because it's just so creative. What would you recommend?
Well, for a younger kid, I know a lot of high schools nowadays have robotics programs. I think it'd be good to get them started in something like that. But if you just want to dive right into Battlebots, which would be, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Build a bot
just build it
and submit it.
That's a good question from somebody who's like not an engineer, which I am. I at least try to be. I don't know. I think that just start doing it, and it's scary at first building anything because it can always fail, but.
Right.
Just if you have a cool idea, then I think you should just go for it. And there's all kinds of new ideas. Just think of like a way. Look at these things. It's just problem solving. Like you see a metal box. Can you think of a way to make a mechanism that can destroy a metal box with a metal box, like with something that would fit in another metal box?
Kind of reducing the problem to like the basics. And have you found any specific like online resources or anything that as you guys were building things, you were like, wow, that was so cool. We've learned so much. This saved us so much time.
Yeah. We watched a lot of YouTube videos. I think I've watched all the episodes like twice.
of
Battlebots.
Battlebots, yeah.
And there's also other ones like Robo Wars. Oh, and I didn't mention there's all kinds of robotics competitions across the country. We mentioned weight classes, and for Battlebots it is 250,
right?
And then that 500-pound caveat, which is totally new this year, by the way,
right?
But there's also, they call them ant weight, beetle weight, feather weight. There's a 60-pound class, but they go from 150 grams, I think, is ant weight. Beetle weight is the most popular, I believe. That's 3 pounds. And so maybe start with something like that. And they're literally the size of like a shoebox.
Right.
And you can make them out of 3D printed parts. You can make them out of probably stuff in your kitchen. And they have robot combat events like that all over the country.
Before we started recording, we talked about a bunch of things, and there was it first? What's the there's another like a competition, and you know more about that first? I think it's called.
We didn't have first in my high school, but I've helped a high school with their first team recently, and first stands for the inspiration of robotics, science, and technology, I believe. And they build not combat robots, but they build similarly sized robots. Actually, they're really impressive. They're like 100 pounds. And the high schoolers get, I believe, 6 weeks from when it starts to, they tell them, okay, you got to make a bot for this. Here's your rules. And then they give them 6 weeks. Right. And then they pool together all their resources and make a 100-pound thing that will solve this. It'll be picking up balls and putting them up here, bring them back down here. Okay, now put them over here.
So more of like a function-based designs, not just smash.
Arguably more sophisticated than Battlebots, where it's just destroy them.
Right, because they may need to incorporate some kind of autonomous behaviors and programming more than. Are there any bots in BattleBots that have some kind of automation or any kind of more advanced technologies that you found?
Yes, there's one. There's probably many, but I know of one called Chomp, and I think they're coming back this year, which is great. They're making one of the big walker ones, and they've teased some. Well, I digress. There's they had a bot that had a proximity sensor. When it got near, they had a hammer that would come down in front of them and hit. But mostly these are just driven by people.
Just RC.
I think the reaction time is probably going to be better if you did it autonomously. Right. But your overall like ambiguity of the situation that you have to know, like as a driver, is still better to have. The realm of people pilots is still, I think, superior to autonomy at this point. But who knows? It could change pretty soon with how fast things are moving. And
plus, in a way, you're adding complexity to it. So if a circuit board or something gets impacted by another bot just hitting it, and suddenly like your weapon system might be just totally offline, right?
Yes.
Unless you have some kind of override or some kind of backup system to still manually engage it.
Yes.
So,
and I think from our research, electronics are almost a bigger failure point than mechanics. And you see these giant things swinging at you. You go, let's put 2 inches of steel right here. But
some kind of a flywheel of like just building up momentum and just like smashing and just converting all that kinetic energy into just like mayhem.
Absolutely. And electronics they're probably not getting hit dead on, but they're pretty fragile. And if they're in there getting jostled around, they'll give out.
So what's next for your bot in terms of evolution? And actually, even let's talk about armor, because you got a story about that as well over there. Like, how did you guys develop the armor? Because it's a balance. This is kind of like revisiting a history of like armored vehicles, right? Because you're trying to figure out, for the mass that you're going to build up and for the armor that you're going to put on this of this vehicle. Like if you put too much, it's going to be too heavy. It's going to drain your battery. So like it's a balance. How did you guys come up with the on that spectrum to have just enough to be competitive and how do you even gauge that?
Well, fortunately, going back to that 3D modeling, it tells you exactly how much your thing is weighing. But for our armor, we are using Kevlar, which from our research, again, we wanted to do something new. Right. And from what we could tell, nobody's used Kevlar. There was one team that used fiberglass in the past, but we're using Kevlar because we have a little bit of experience with composites, and we wanted to do something a little different. And on a technical side, I think it's going to stand up pretty well because it's flexible, and like you mentioned, armored vehicles.
Right.
I'm not sure if they use Kevlar, but they definitely want to incorporate some type of elasticity, because if you get hit by something, and you have something rigid and that thing coming in is rigid,
right?
Something's going to break. Right. And it's probably both things.
Right.
If you have something flexible, it's going to hopefully,
right,
give a little bit, but roll with the punches.
Right. So with the armor, Kevlar is I'm not sure how expensive it is. Do you have any sponsors that help out with this?
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned.
Let's plug them in. Because they, this is. I love how, if there's a company or someone who can help out. I mean, this is such a creative thing that people just grow with, that when there's a company that wants to help out and throw some resources at you, then, they deserve a kudos and a mention.
Absolutely.
So,
thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk about them. So to mention first Fiberglass with a T, they're a company in Ohio, and we've used them in the past for composites for like a vehicle body, and they do all kinds of composite supplies, but they've given us all of our Kevlar and fiberglass that we need.
Yeah, because that can't be cheap.
It's
Kevlar
not.
This is what body armor is made out of. Like a bulletproof vest and things like that. So this is definitely not cheap stuff.
No, it's not cheap, and they've graciously donated that to us so that we could use their name, and so they're helping us with that, and they've helped us supply the stuff for our molds as well, because you lay it up in a mold and then bring it out.
Right.
Another company is Samtech, and they've donated a lot of funds and electronic connectors. They're an electronic connector company in New Albany, Indiana. That's where their headquarters is, but they're international. They have a presence all around the world, and they make connectors that go like board to board, high data throughput connections. Like, I think one of their connectors is like something ridiculous, like almost a terabyte per second. And they have given us all the connectors we need for electronics and funds and exposure. And one of my colleagues, Andrew, knows them, which is how we got involved with them. And then Waterjet Cutting of Indiana is a small machine shop that has these amazing water jet cutting machines, and they've done things for us in the past, and they've cut all of our plates that were used to put our chassis together, and Owings Patterns made our plugs, which are where you're familiar with building a mold. You lay it up on a plug, which is literally like a positive shape, like this globe here, if you wanted to make an empty dome, and then you would lay up your mold on top of it, pull it off, and now you have your negative, which is your mold. Yeah. And
So, are you going to have like the logos of the companies plastered on the bot?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just got to.
Absolutely. Yeah, we couldn't do it without the resources and expertise that they've given us. So
nice.
We're very grateful, and we'll be more than happy to put their names up there. There's some good names.
Let's talk about the armor. Yeah. And so Kevlar. Anything else that you guys are thinking about? Like, how do I, any thoughts about like the, future evolution,
of that?
Versions of that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're doing something. We're putting steel plates in our Kevlar layup, which is there's a type of body armor that there are actually several body armors use. I think they use porcelain. Or some type of glass, basically. Right. And some use steel plates in there, and that helps. It's a composite. Is the way I think about it. It's not. It doesn't have to be Kevlar. It doesn't have to be carbon fiber. Composite just means you're using multiple materials. And you're getting the benefits out of all of them. And so when you're using Kevlar and steel, which we're using, you get the elasticity of Kevlar, which is about twice steel. Kevlar 29, I believe. And then you're using steel, which has a much greater, not tensile strength, but shear strength. You can cut Kevlar with the appropriate scissors. It's still kind of hard, but that's because it's lower shear strength. You can almost crack it. Right. If you're moving it in shear. That's where steel
comes in, right?
Yeah.
So a, sort of like a hybrid solution.
Absolutely,
like, you're building like for like the tensile strength. This is what's going to kind of give you upper edge, and for the all the
Yep, it's
compressive or
it's
whatever.
Team.
You can tell that I am not a mechanical engineer.
Yeah, that's all right. It's wonderful. I think composites are going to be more and more used as we reduce the cost of those materials. That's something I'm fascinated with.
Are you getting where are you getting the ideas for, like how to, where do you get your inspiration? Like, hey, let's try this or something else.
For the material side, I think from my opinion, my amateur opinion, I think that one of the greatest limiting factors of most every engineering project is the materials, and so that's one thing I was fascinated with when I was learning about it in college and using it in some projects that I've done, and so that's why I enjoy it. And in terms of just overall, I would say that
like how do you get inspired? Like, hey, should we try, honeycomb pattern or something? Because like where do you get your inspiration for like getting the next level of protective, like whatever, just ideas for like designing something new?
Yeah, I would say just like looking at a lot of military projects, like the F-35, I believe, is carbon fiber now, and just looking at like what's like the most advanced thing out there right now, and can we do that? Usually it's no, because it's really expensive.
Yeah.
But fortunately, composites have come down like a ton in price over the past 3 to 4 decades.
Like carbon fiber or
yeah, carbon fiber, and Kevlar and any fiberglass, which people don't realize fiberglass is actually almost as strong. It's I shouldn't say like exactly, but it's very comparable to carbon fiber in its performance. It's just a little bit different in terms of if you want different elasticities and different like directional strengths.
Probably a little bit heavier than carbon.
It's about the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Carbon fiber I think has a higher tensile strength. But
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I always had like carbon fiber, like space.
It's a little bit easier to, I think, manufacture. I'm getting into a realm that I'm not familiar with, but the differences between your different fibers are ultimately pretty small. When you could build something out of carbon fiber, probably out of fiberglass.
Right.
If it's not a spaceship that you need to be like exact.
Very exact. Right, exactly.
Perfect, yeah.
And we're talking about things that will be smashed to smithereens over here in battle axe.
Right.
Anyway,
so we had to have enough to...
Good enough. I like that, the what you said before, which was like, there's perfectionism level, right? Where you need like super, like when we need to send a rocket ship, everything has to be perfect, right? Otherwise, there's too many variables. But like when you build something that's going to be smashed around, like good enough is good enough at some point. And
I would say we're designing and building for, we're not just, let's just make it, sort of okay. There's the way we see it is, we're building it for out of the triangle, of the manufacturing triangle, there's schedule, cost, and quality. We're obviously choosing schedule and quality as best we can. But we're designing for maintainability. So we're imagining things are going to get messed up. Even the best bot out there, you can see there's tons of damage on it after it goes. So we have to build it so we can. We're building multiple shields. We're building multiple parts, and so we got to do it fast. And we have to be able to. It's kind of a war of attrition,
right?
When you're out there, so you have to be able to replace things quickly and easily.
Yeah. Did it let you, when you're in the arena, and how does that work? Like, I guess, do you do just one battle, or do you do like multiple battles, and you got to have just a bunch of spare parts with you so that you're getting ready for the next one?
Yeah, so I don't think I mentioned, but they do all of this. At least right now, things are a little bit different, but they're still planning on doing all of this at once in the 17-day period with all the teams there.
Wow.
And so you're just going to be like probably 2 or 3 fights a day or over a week.
You know what? There should be something like that in Utah over here.
Yeah.
Like a mini Battlebots, like something that you can kind of, go up, rank up in a way, or just cut your teeth in local things that you can have more often, and then those should kind of like graduate to the BattleBots at Discovery Channel, you know.
Yeah, I have a good feeling that there are similar events.
We should start something like that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think University of Utah has some kind of robotics fighting event.
Yeah.
And there was a I think there's a Girl Scouts group that is building a little Lego robot or something. They do events around here, and they wanted to come look at our robot.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Where do you see this going in terms of like what's next for you? I mean, this is a great experience. I love the you know, what you learn out of this. It's a continuous education. It's a lifelong learning type of bolstering activity. It's very satisfying when you build something and it does something. I mean, at least to me, this is just my opinion. But where do you see like yourself? You know, where does this going to take you? Do you see like some kind of, hey, I could do this professionally, or I could this could be a business, and what could it be? So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's our most of the guys on the team are on board with the idea of just letting it take us where it's going to take us. Mm-hmm. And in the past, I know myself, I've suffered from analysis paralysis per se, and when you're just trying to think about something,
make it perfect, right?
Yeah, and you never end up like really doing it. And so we've toyed around with the idea of doing it professionally, but I think what we really want to do is start a machine shop and just start building things for people.
So that's a perfect segue, Chris, to what we talked about earlier. Yeah. Which is, you know, how cool would it be to have like a, you know, little Da Vinci village, you know, where Genesis, you know, the genesis of built and creative stuff happens, like a innovation center that allows people to kind of go in and just continue to build and even stay over there for the period of the time of the development. So it's not even like, because with the Makerspace, it's kind of like you have your day job, right? Mm-hmm. You go in, you work on your project, and then you go back, and it's kind of like that. It's not dedicated, right? It's almost like a, you know, hobby, you know, shop where you just get to build things. But how cool would it be if you would have sort of like a place where you just go in for like a month and you just kind of dedicate it to just building whatever, prototyping, and being in that space with other people who are of the same mindset of like, let's build things, let's Absolutely. You know, learn.
Yeah, that would be David Hasselhoff cool.
Yeah.
But no, I think that would alleviate a lot of the pressures of I mean, we would have to figure out how to go about like the cost and leadership behind it. Yeah. But to alleviate, I know for myself, if I suddenly didn't have to worry about like making an Instagram account and website and all these things, it's like now I can focus on what you want to excel in is whether it's art, sewing things, like building a robot. Right.
Building your prototyping, right? Like a lot of things that when I see, you know, when people are in this space of innovation, it just has so much overhead, additional stuff that you have to deal with when you're starting a business, right? Like the innovation part is almost like, you know, that's the core, but then you have to, like you said, like, hey, I have to build my social media presence, right? I have to build Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all of that stuff, and then advertise and you know, and shoot a promotional video for my product and everything. Right. So it's like, it just creates all these additional layers that take you away and just dilute your time from designing what you wanted to design. And so it would be so great if there would be a space or a place like that kind of helps you out. You know, maybe they take a piece of equity of the company that you're building up, but, you know, if they believe in the product that you're doing, it's just like kind of, you know, they support you and you kind of can get to focus on it, and that would just bring it so much faster to the, you know, to reality. So, you know, let's start something like that.
I'm on board. I'm on board. Yeah, I think that if you have people complement each other really well, and no man is an island. Right. And to be able to share each other's skills, like what happens at that Makerspace downtown here is wonderful, because we're all able to share a little bit of each other's experiences and expertises. But if there was like I can't imagine how it'd be done, but what you're describing would be wonderful if all of a sudden now you can have like an entire like large scale high product output environment that has the makerspace kind of people there. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I think there's creative space where people can kind of dedicate some time, almost like almost like a summer camp, but dedicated to just kind of like building things in terms of like, you just dedicate it at that time that you just go in, you have no other distractions, and when you come up with a product and then a lot of that stuff that you need to would have to take care of is just taken care of for you, like from marketing it to whatever. I think that would just help people so much in taking their game to like a higher level, because then it would be just focused on what they want to build, and not just discouraged because now they have to like spend all this other time that they have to do to do all these extra things, and it would just create really like a Da Vinci workshop, just go in and just stay there and just build stuff out and collaborate with people. I think that would be such a great and awesome place to do so. Whoever's listening to this, if you like this idea, you heard it over here first, and just connect with us and give us some money, and we'll make it happen.
Right. I'm on board with that idea. Yeah.
It would be great. It would be a great project. And what I like about Utah over here is like there's a lot of creative stuff happening. A lot of companies are moving into Utah. Yeah. A lot of tech stuff is happening here. There's definitely it's becoming more and more of a hub, tech hub, and more creative, and so maybe we need to tap some politicians and talk to them. Maybe there's a space where something like that could be created to really elevate Utah to another level.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. And I'm not an expert on any of that, but by economics and things like that, but it does seem like a lot of companies are moving around here.
It's an investment, I'd say, for the states to kind of continue. And there's definitely some organizations over here that do some of that stuff, but I think it would be so cool to kind of take it to the next level and engage. And I'm so happy when I heard about that first program, with the robotics and like high schools and even like earlier. Like I think that's what we need. We need to continue to kind of support those types of projects and ideas.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That would be a wonderful way to do it too. I mean, even starting out as like a makerspace. Yeah. Could be.
We need to have a makerspace closer to us over here.
Yeah. There is none, at least currently, that I know of down in the what county is this? Utah County?
Utah County, yeah.
I think now that Provo has left.
So
somebody needs to fill the void.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we covered it. I love how, and I want to bring more people that are doing what you're doing. I reached out to Make Salt Lake and invited some people to share their projects, and we're going to shoot some footage to show your bot, right? So because I want to show people how this 200+ pound behemoth looks right now. Yeah. And so people have an idea what we were talking about. Any final thoughts that you have on where you're going to go next with this?
I really don't know. I see myself as an entrepreneur someday. I think I'm on that path.
Yeah. Hopefully you can kind of grow this into a business. Yeah. And make this a living that's exciting, and you're going to continue to grow with this. So
yeah, I hope so too.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show, Chris. I appreciate it. Good luck in Battlebots, in the arena. Hopefully it's going to happen when it's kind of scheduled for in August, right? Yeah. And
it'll be on TV hopefully just in time for Thanksgiving.
All the best luck, and
we'll see.
And for those companies who are sponsoring what Chris and Team Phalanx is doing, kudos to you to engage with that. Without you, their job would be that much harder to accomplish what they're doing. So I want to throw this out. Thank you for sponsoring, and
thank you very much.
And do more of that. Find other teams as well worth sponsoring.
I think philanthropy is so important to support the community.
Yeah, get that. Yeah, support those creative juices out there. Build the tech.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this podcast and you've learned something from it. And check out more on apodcast.com and our YouTube channel and all of our social media things. If you like it, please share and comment. We want to hear more from you to see what you guys want to hear about. We're going to continue this series of conversations about technologies and maker spaces, and because this is this is one of the topics that is really near and dear to my heart. I love how people are building things, new stuff, creative technology, and how teenagers and youth can grow with that, and basically next generation's coming up with stuff that's going to be so cool that we're going to get to enjoy, and we have to make sure that it's supported in some way. So share this information, and peace out. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to a podcast with interesting people. Please subscribe and leave a review or comment.
And support us by sharing our episodes on social media. We really appreciate it. And for more information, visit us at apodcast.com. Thanks.